You're ready to go.
All right, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our February meeting of the Washington State Gambling Commission. My name is Bud Sizemore, and I am the chair. I would ask that Director Griffin please call the roll.
Good morning. Vice Chair Patterson.
Here.
Commissioner Levy is out today.
Excused.
Thank you. Commissioner Reeves.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Lawson.
Present.
Thank you. Chair Sizemore's here. Not sure about any ex officios. Do you want me to go ahead and go through the list?
No, I don't think we expect any of them to be able to break into their day for this. So
you have a quorum of 4.
All right, thank you for that. Again, welcome everyone. I would like to just let everyone know that as usual, lately we are still working virtually completely. This meeting will be recorded, and I understand that TBW will also be presenting this meeting. So with that, I would like to pause for just a moment of silence for law enforcement officers across the country that we've lost since the last time we've met. So if you could pause for just a moment, please. Thank you. With that, we have a very, very short agenda, which, you know, I love and hate. Love it for this month, but I assume it means that next month is going to be crazy. So with that, we will roll right in. First item up for us is consent agenda, which includes January 13 commission meeting minutes, January 20th, special meeting minutes, new licenses and Class 3 employees license, and sports wagering vendor reports. Any additions or deletions for the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, this is Julia Patterson, and I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved by Vice Chair Patterson and seconded by Commissioner Reeves to accept our consent agenda. All those in favor will try a verbal vote here. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. With that, thank you. We've accepted the consent agenda. Next item on our agenda is our direct report, which will be Tina Griffin, our interim director, strategic plan 2018 to 2022 progress report. Hi, Tina.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Sizemore. So with in your packet is a progress report on where we're at with our 2018-2022 strategic plan. I am asking that you consider extending the strategic plan from 2022 to 2023 today. For more than a year, obviously with COVID, staff's time and our priorities were focused on responding to our licensees during the pandemic, as well as focusing on a number of other things. And so with that, as well as it does take about 10 months to get the strategic plan ready to go in terms of developing a new plan, and with our short staff and without a permanent director and having that plan be developed in accordance with a budget, I'm asking for an extension until 2023.
All right. I'll ask commissioners, any questions on the progress report that we received? And if there are none, I guess I'll ask for consensus. Does anyone have any objections to extending the strategic plan timeframe? All right, unless we're having technical issues again, seems like your extension is granted and there are no questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a petition for rule change. It's a rule petition to amend sports wagering and iGaming. We'll have a presentation by Ashley Layden, our rules coordinator, and hopefully we have the petitioner, Todd Sherman. Ashley, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Chair Sizemore, Commissioners, and ex officios, Todd Sherman is proposing a rule change to allow for online sports betting and iGaming in Washington State. The petitioner feels this change is needed because people want to participate in sports wagering and iGaming from the comfort of their own homes. The petitioner would also like to have access to the NFT marketplace, which currently no tribal casino is offering. The petitioner feels the effect of this rule change would increase competition and the ability to participate in sports wagering, iGaming, and access to the NFT marketplace from home. RCW 9.46.0364 authorizes sports wagering through Class 3 tribal gaming compacts to be conducted and operated on Indian lands. Under the requirements of the Administrative Procedure Act, the Commission must take action on this petition within 60 days of receiving it. Your options are to accept the petition and initiate rulemaking proceedings by filing the rule as proposed for further discussion, or to deny the petition in writing, stating the reasons for denial and specifically address the concerns stated in the petition, or where appropriate, indicate alternative means by which the agency will address the concerns raised in the petition. Staff recommends denial as this change being requested can only be done by the legislature. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Todd Sherman to present on their petition at this time.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Any questions for Ashley before Todd comes up? Okay, not seeing any. Mr. Sherman, are you available? I'd ask that you please turn your camera on and your microphone.
How did I do?
Yep, I see you and hear you. Welcome.
All right, excellent.
And please identify yourself for the record and make your presentation.
Certainly, thank you. My name is Todd Sherman. I live in North Bend, Washington. Surprisingly close to Snoqualmie Casino. And so I do see obviously a need, and given the state of it being 2022, where everybody has apps on their phone, the access to sports betting, if you will, iGaming through an app. Obviously, the legislature works at a much slower speed than the constituents and the residents of the state. As we already know that as of January 18th, residents in Washington state could still do everything online by utilizing the Oregon online through their lottery with DraftKings. It's unfortunate that the Washington legislature, and I do understand that my petition will probably be denied, but at least having it on the record would have hopefully stoked the interest of any other people participating and viewing this commission's meeting today, that there is a request and there is legitimate, I guess you'd say, interest in having online access to iGaming and sports betting among Washington residents. I do have to say that I'm remiss that Washington State is missing out on tax revenue due to the short-sighted nature of the Washington legislature. We're going to miss out on $60 million in tax revenue this year alone, and over $1 billion over the next 10 years from sports betting alone, not including iGaming, just based off of the figures coming from Louisiana, Arizona, that have legalized sports betting within the last year, along with Washington State, but haven't restricted it to only tribal casinos, and have opened it up to online access. With that, I would say that there is a unique access to like FanDuel and DraftKings, where both of them offer fantasy sports. And I would encourage the commission either to recommend to me to file another petition or to consider voting and approving online access to FanDuel and DraftKings. And the reason why is because fantasy sports is ruled nationally as not gambling. However, the IRS considers the transactions to be part of gambling transactions, even though it is not, according to the Supreme Court, a game of chance. So it's not illegal to do fantasy sports in Washington State, nor is it in our or against our Constitution, and we don't need a Washington legislature to approve that. It's just not. The Supreme Court has already decided that. So of the United States. So that has nothing to do with whether the Washington Gambling Commission has is restricted to wait on the legislature. So I would say that is one future option that could be near term implemented in Washington State, although that would be restricting those companies from other accesses. That is my petition.
All right. Are there any questions for the petitioner? Okay, Vice Chair Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry. I didn't get your name. Would you tell me your name again, please?
My name is Todd Sherman.
Todd Sherman. Thanks, Todd.
Mhm.
And I just want to say, this is just a comment, not necessarily interested in debate at this point, because I don't know that we're capable of doing what you're asking us to do here. But I just want to say that there are extraordinary issues associated with addictive gambling behavior when it's online. And it is a different type of gambling, and we haven't studied it enough, but we have a lot of evidence that indicates that it is conducive to some really damaging addictive behavior. And so I just want to say that you compared us to Oregon. Oregon has an enormous budget to help people with gambling addiction problems, and the state of Washington does not. And so I think that your request is interesting and it should be at least considered intellectually. But until the state of Washington and others are willing to seriously look at the social damage that's done by gambling and the costs associated with it, it doesn't really make sense to me to move forward. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I wanted to share that with you for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Reeves, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two questions for clarification, please. Sir, can you please share? I heard you make a reference to Oregon. I want to make sure that I did not unintentionally infer something, but the way that your statement came across to me was that you intimated that folks living in Washington can currently participate in online gaming through an Oregon platform. Is that what I'm to understand you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so as a side note to that, staff, I would be very interested to understand how folks living in Washington are currently participating in online gaming through an Oregon platform. If we can get more clarification on that at a future meeting, that would be great.
I could easily answer that for you.
Oh, great, thanks.
So
It's
Todd,
called a V.
Todd, you don't have an attorney present with you, so this is just
Well, I'm not doing anything wrong illegally myself, so
okay.
I'm just answering her question. I'm not
Okay.
Participating in any questionable activity myself, so I'm staying
Okay.
straight and narrow. But the fact is that VPNs, so virtual private networks, can mask your state and location of where you are accessing the internet at any time. And people use that to trade stocks, which is legal outside of the country, which may be in countries that are illegal, and they would either have their accounts closed, and to participate in gaming, such as Washington State has somehow made online poker illegal. But let's face it, a lot of people participate in online poker in Washington State. And there is no enforcement mechanism to capture these people. I mean, I've never seen anybody be charged with participating in online poker in Washington State since it was made illegal. So how would they participate there in Washington? And VPNs will mask where you are. Now, you have to be in a territory. DraftKings, you have to be, if I visited Oregon and I signed up for a DraftKings while I was in Oregon, that should detect me and my phone. But if I sign in through the app, which is already available on the computer, I don't need to be on my phone and in Oregon. I can easily do that on a computer. And everybody has access to that, whether it's on their phone. VPNs have been around for a long time. And so while I do understand the concern, there are ways, if people really want to participate, to go around it.
Thank you for that explanation, Todd. You've actually just proven my point in that what we know is that online gaming is happening irrespective of what the commission would like to happen, would like not to happen, what the state's doing or not. But very clearly under state law right now, online gaming is considered a Class C felony. And as such, the legislature is the body. As a former legislator, I would be offended if a commission tried to take away the responsibility of the legislature to address this. So I want to echo Commissioner Patterson's concerns about being forward thinking about the need to address both the social elements of gambling online and the concerns around problem gaming. But secondly, I would really encourage us to have a conversation, Todd, about the resources necessary to regulate online gaming from a cybersecurity perspective. As you've just clearly articulated, the ways in which the cyberspace is being utilized today can both be legal and illegal. And I really want, this is more directed for staff because they know this is something I've been talking a lot about since joining the commission. I'd really like the commission to be thinking forward about what resources, tools, equipment, et cetera, necessary would be needed for us to think about the future of online gaming. And by that, I simply mean that if the legislature ever decided to open this space to gaming, I want to make sure that the commission is ready to be able to regulate that space appropriately with the right tools and resources. So thank you for bringing this to our attention, Todd, or bringing it forward. I will also echo Commissioner Patterson. I don't believe that it's actually the purview of the commission to approve this petition today, but definitely encourage you to connect with your legislators to have this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reeves. Are there any further questions for the petitioner? All right, not seeing any. Well, thank you, Todd. I appreciate you bringing this forward. We're going to go ahead and open this up for public comment. Is there anyone attending the meeting today that would like to make public comment on this topic? And in order to do so, please put yourself on camera, raise your hand, and open your microphone. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment? All right, I am not seeing anyone raise their hand. Anything, Julie Anderson, anything in the chat or any other method that I'm missing?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. With that, is there a motion? Commissioner Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to deny the petition in writing for the explicit reason that the request is out of the purview of the commission and falls squarely with the legislature to address. And therefore should indicate alternative means to Todd on by which he may be able to address the concerns raised in the petition.
All right, is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Reeves, seconded by Vice Chair Patterson to deny the petition in writing based on the rationale that she just stated. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll try a verbal vote. Please go ahead and all those in favor of the of denying the petition in writing, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, Mr. Sherman, that concludes your petition. Thank you for coming before us.
Thank you.
All right, and Ashley, thank you. Only one item today. Next item on our agenda is a legislative update. Tommy Oakes, our interim legislative liaison. Tommy, are you available?
I am.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Sizemore. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
That is good. Commissioners, I don't think there's any ex officios. For the record, my name is Tommy Oakes, and I am the interim legislative liaison for the Gambling Commission, and I'm here to provide an update for February. So I sent out a memo on Friday, pretty late, I apologize, but things have been moving. To tell you where we are legislatively, I will focus on some of the highlights. Thursday was the cutoff for policy cutoff was February 3rd and kind of cleared up what bills we're going to be moving, kind of helped out a little bit there. And then today, February 7th is fiscal committee cutoff. I want to take a few minutes to talk about our agency request legislation so you understand the status of that, which is Senate Bill 5549 and House Bill 2025. Just to refresh memories, in Section 1, it would amend our charitable and nonprofit qualifications to include county, city, or town community centers or a nonprofit senior housing organization for the purposes of conducting unlicensed bingo under RCW. Section 2 of this bill would amend RCW to authorize bona fide charitable or nonprofit organizations to conduct bingo, raffle, and amusement games without a license to be conducted or in any combination from currently it's 2 times, would move it up to 12 times a calendar year, with the gross revenues from all activities not to exceed $5,000 during that calendar year. During the process of these bills moving, I heard from legislators and stakeholders their concern for Section 2 as their concerns it was an expansion of gambling. This probably resulted in Senate Bill 5549 not making it out of policy committee cutoff by the cutoff date. House Bill 2025 did move out of committee, excuse me, and is currently in rules. There was an amendment that was adopted that struck Section 2 of this bill, and this removed the number of occurrences that could occur. And so basically we're stuck with the definition changes where we're moving forward with it. It's in rules and we're hoping it keeps moving from there, and I'll know more hopefully by the end of this week. As you can see, nothing from this from the memo, nothing else gambling related made it past policy cutoff. There are a few law enforcement bills that will affect us that are currently moving, and we're watching those. I don't have any concerns with these bills moving forward. Everything seems to be just some changes of last year's police reform bills. So they're just moving forward and we're just watching those. We did have a commissioner confirmation. Congratulations, Chair Sizemore. On January 19th, you were reappointed by the Senate. Commissioner Levy's confirmation is on the Senate floor as of Friday, and we'll know they can vote on that anytime. I have a meeting request in with Chair Kaiser to discuss the confirmation hearings of Commissioners Reeves and Lawson. I'm waiting back to see if we can get that scheduled this year as well. I want to give you a real quick the limited law enforcement update, the big thing that I guess has been really affecting our agency. We've had good meetings with the governor's office and legislators these past couple of weeks. I feel all parties we have talked with are wanting to move forward on fixing the unintended consequences of engrossed Senate Bill 5051. Due to it being a short session, it appears that the legislative fix will not be viable until the next legislative session. We currently have requested different things going through the legislature. We're trying different options to see if we can get ourselves trained this year. I just wanted to basically take time and publicly thank all our ex officios that have really helped us. Representative Kloba, Senator Conway, and Senator Holy have been really instrumental in helping trying to figure out different solutions. Representative Goodman we've been working with him a lot as well to see if there's a legislative fix can come. And I also want to thank commissioners. This has been a whole new process for me, and it's a real quick learning curve. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's been helping me kind of navigate all these waters. And I just want to say thank you. And I'm open for any questions.
All right, thanks for the briefing. Excuse me, Tommy. Are there any questions for Tommy? Vice Chair Patterson, I see you unmuting. No?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I want to compliment you, Tommy. That was a lot of information to absorb. Figuring out the legislature in such a short period of time. There's so much to learn, everything from the lingo to the process, not to mention the culture, and getting to know the personalities of the different legislators. All of that is just a huge undertaking. And so I wanted to compliment you on a job well done so far this session.
Thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. I've had a lot of help and I really appreciate that.
All right, Commissioner Reeves.
Well, Commissioner Patterson took the words out of my mouth. I was also going to, as a former legislator, just really commend Mr. Oakes on his stellar work this session. He has been engaging, a thoughtful, present, and I think to all of the points that Commissioner Patterson made, I would just say I really appreciate, Tommy, how proactive you have been in working with the commissioners to stay up to date, keep us up to date, and be mindful about the intentionality of the work on the Hill. So thank you for your hard work so far this session, and congratulations on making it past cutoff.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Reeves. And yeah, I also will commend you, Tommy. Your bruises are not visible. I know that you've taken a few lumps, and I appreciate that you're still able to smile and have moved the ball for the agency. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that will conclude our legislative update. Next update will be, I believe, the very end of session. So Tommy, if anything pops up that you need us, please let us know. Next item on our agenda, last item on our agenda, is the director hire update. And we should be hearing from Lisa Benavides, our HR director. Lisa, are you with us?
I am.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Chair Sizemore and Commissioners. For the record, I'm Lisa Benavides, the HR Director for the agency, and I'm here today to provide a brief update on the status of the director hire. As a reminder, at a special commission meeting on January 20th, Commissioners decided to move one candidate forward for further consideration and authorized me to engage in background checks for and negotiations with this candidate. I have advised that candidate that I will be contacting their references. I'm hoping to complete the reference checks on the preferred candidate this week. Now that's just hoping, so it could go into next week depending on their schedules. After those are complete, I will contact the candidate to continue moving forward in the process. And once that is complete, I will bring information forward to the commissioners for a decision on making an appointment. And this will occur at an upcoming commission meeting. So that is all I have for you today, unless you have questions.
Any commissioner questions? I see you, Vice Chair Patterson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Lisa, do you perceive that the Gambling Commission will be able to make a formal decision prior to the next meeting? Not prior to, but at the next meeting, I should say.
That would be my hope, that yes, I would have everything completed and ready to go by the March meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Commissioner Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just for clarification, Director Benavides, so when you say you'll have all of those materials ready by the next commission meeting, does that include the background check and the beyond the references?
At this time, I'm not planning on doing anything besides the reference checks unless directed to do so by the commissioners.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yep.
and I'm trying to be really thoughtful about how to phrase this, given we can't talk about the person. I believe that it is incredibly important for us as a regulatory agency to ensure that all of the candidates that we review and potentially extend offers to, which we're in the process of doing, meet the current qualifications of the background check, the poly, especially because we do have, while we're a regulatory agency, we have a law enforcement element. I would like to make sure that the candidate that we're extending an offer to lead this agency is current in all of those aspects. And therefore, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask for the commission's leeway in asking Director Benavides to engage in that element of the review of, I don't know what to call it, of the selection process with the candidate that we're intending to extend this offer to.
All right, and I think before we proceed, I'd like to bring Suzanne kind of into this conversation and see what needs to occur in public meeting and what is appropriate for potentially an executive session for those commissioners that are part of this process.
Correct. So first, actually, I think I do want to note that this itself is a special meeting due to the rescheduling. And so right now we are limited to what is currently on your agenda, which is a director hire update with no potential action, at least for today. Generally, if you would like to set the parameters or add parameters to your hiring search, that would need to or hiring process, that would need to happen in open meeting. So that could certainly be scheduled. Any additional discussion of candidate, evaluations, qualifications, et cetera, can happen in executive session.
Okay. So that's a possibility for today's executive session for those commissioners that are participating in the process.
Again,
not to change the process, but to have a discussion. It's an appropriate topic for executive session, personnel decisions.
It is an appropriate topic for executive session to discuss candidate qualifications in executive session. Again, the trick here is that we're in a special meeting today. In a
Sure.
regular meeting, there's more flexibility because this is a special meeting. You are limited to what is explicitly on your agenda. And for executive session, it is listed as agency litigation with legal counsel, including tribal negotiations.
So, Mr. Chair, Suzanne, my understanding at the last meeting, so maybe you can help educate me. My understanding at the last meeting, when the commission voted to move the candidate forward, it was explained to us that candidate qualifications would include reference checks, a background check, a polygraph, and I believe there was a fourth element. I don't have my notes in front of me. I am now hearing in the update that the only intention is to move forward references. That is not my understanding of what we agreed to at the last commission meeting. So what I'm trying to understand is how we deviated from a list of candidate qualifications being reference check, polygraph, background check to just being references.
Okay.
So I would
don't
like some
have-
legal clarification on when that deviation happened. If there's a different understanding of the motion that was made at the last meeting, I'd like that clarification, because I could be wrong. Maybe I misunderstood the intent of the motion, but my understanding was that it would include those 4 elements of candidate qualifications. And now I'm not hearing those 4 elements. I'm only hearing 1.
Okay. And so you'll recall I was not at that special meeting where the candidate was moved forward. So I don't have that piece of information.
No, I understand. And it sounds like we
yeah.
can't do anything about it today. I'm just asking if between now and the next time we have a conversation, if staff can please clarify the intent of the motion made at the last meeting, because the motion should be on record or on video or whatever. And a clarification from Director Benavides about the 4 elements of candidate qualifications. I would like that clarification, please.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Reeves. Vice Chair Patterson, I see your hand.
So, what I'm curious about, Commissioner Reeves, is if you're asking for that information, that clarification to happen at the next meeting of the Gambling Commission. Is that correct?
I assumed that it was going to be happening from our last meeting moving forward, because I was to understand that those 4 elements would be part of the candidate qualifications process. I expressed and was told at that last meeting, if we had any questions about that, we should follow up with the director. I followed up with the director in writing, expressed my interest in seeing all 4 of the, I think it's 4, all of those elements conducted. And I have very specific reasons why I think those elements should be conducted. I don't want to speak to them because I'm pretty sure Suzanne will kick me in the shins, lovingly, Suzanne. But I believe very strongly that those elements need to be conducted as part of this process. And so I'm very curious to understand how, and again, I could be completely wrong, but my understanding when we left that special meeting for the purposes of moving candidate qualifications for a candidate forward was that those 4 elements would be part of the qualifications check.
Okay, gotcha. I understand now. And I'm just curious, Lisa, what I'm curious about are if you could enumerate the 4 elements. I know it's a background check, a polygraph, and I think one of them was a psychological test of some kind, going through a psychological analysis. And then what was the 4th one?
It's a background check that would include reference check, psychological exam, and polygraph exam.
Okay, so there's 3 elements then.
Correct.
Okay. And there is a subtlety here that we cannot discuss in open session associated with that. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so we heard today that we can't even, when we go into executive session, Suzanne, we can't even articulate what that subtlety is so that we all can understand what it is.
You certainly can in a executive session that is scheduled to include this particular exemption to the Open Public Meetings Act. Again, the limitations of today are that we're in a special meeting, so you're limited to what is explicitly on the agenda. I'm not saying never, it could certainly be scheduled, but again, today we're just a little bit more limited. I would also suggest that Lisa can certainly reach out to each of you to answer any particular questions one-on-one, and that would be another approach.
Okay. And just quickly, Lisa, off the cuff, how long would it take to conduct that background check that that contained all three of those inquiries about the candidate?
Scheduling the polygraph exam will probably be a couple of weeks out. And then typically once the polygraph exam is conducted, I have the report from the polygraph examiner that next day. Now, the psychological exam takes a little bit longer to schedule. I would imagine that we are about 2 or 3 weeks out in scheduling that. And then that takes about a week for the psychologist to provide a report to me. So we are about, best case scenario, about a month out of having those 2 elements completed.
So, Mr. Chair, I would just like to say that, you know, if Commissioner Reeves were a member of the State House of Representatives and she was one of 98 people and she had something that she really strongly believed in and wanted to happen, but I didn't necessarily, I would vote against her. But in this situation, there's so few of us, and it's so important. Her perspective, her point of view is very important because she's one of only 5. And so therefore, I would just like to say that in order to accommodate my colleagues' needs, I'm interested in seeing this background check move forward with all the elements involved. And if that means that we can't actually take a vote in March, then maybe the special session that needs to be scheduled would be for that vote. In other words, if it takes more time to get answers from this background check than what we have prior to the next meeting, then perhaps we could schedule a special meeting to do that in March sometime.
So, yeah, and I'm
I clear there?
so I am hearing you. Yes, if the process, the agreed upon process, the well understood agreed upon process has been accomplished by our next regularly scheduled meeting, certainly action could be taken. If the process isn't complete, we can't take action, and I would be completely amenable once I hear that the process has come to fruition, that we would schedule a special meeting if necessary, because I would absolutely like to have a director hired for the agency as soon as we can.
So, I mean, having this discussion with you all here, I just would recommend then that we move forward with the background check and have it include all of those processes that Lisa has described, with fingers crossed that we get this done prior to the March meeting. And
Okay.
with reassurance from our chair that if it isn't completed by our March meeting, that our chair is open to the idea of a special meeting.
All right. And Suzanne's not frozen and she hasn't unmuted, so I guess we're all right there. And I, before we leave this agenda item, I do have a question for Lisa if no one else has any further discussion on this aspect. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. So Lisa, there was a component you discussed, negotiation. Is an aspect of this. Can you describe negotiation, or what actions you'll be taking as far as negotiation? And before you answer, it feels to me, and I correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the responsibilities of the commission for the director is to establish a salary, and within whatever the confines of our range are, and that salary, what we determine it is, can be very important for the strata of deputy directors, assistant directors, the entire structure of the agency. If it doesn't have, and in my interpretation, if it doesn't have the proper spacing in between steps, we we may have difficulty in recruiting and retaining folks in those positions. So correct me where I'm wrong, that, I mean, it feels like it is up to the commission to establish a director's salary. And is that what you're talking about in negotiations, or are there other aspects that you're talking about?
It would be salary, not now. I would not necessarily set the salary, because you are correct, Chair, that that is the commission, that is under the commissioner's purview to set salary. But my conversations with the candidate would also include start date negotiations. You know, when are you available to start? How would we look at that? Get a feel for what they're looking for salary wise and what would be acceptable to them. Also, it is under my purview to make sure that we do not run into compression or inversion issues with salary when looking at what we set the director's salary at versus all the other positions that report directly to that director and then just throughout the agency. So I am very mindful of how we are setting salary all across the agency.
Okay,
But the
sounds good.
would be for commissioners for start date, if that was acceptable, and also for salary.
Okay. All right. Any further questions for Lisa? All right, I'm not seeing anyone unmute. Thank you for that update, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Brings us to our last aspect of our public meeting, an opportunity for public comment. So each meeting, we try to provide an opportunity for attendees of the meeting to come before the commission and discuss whatever's on your mind related to gambling. So anyone wishing to test or to provide public comment, I'd ask that you use the functionality of the Teams platform here. Raise your hand. If that's not working for you, I'm open to you opening your microphone and asking for the floor. Is there anyone? All right. Not hearing anyone wish to make public comment.
I do have a comment.
Oh, Todd, go ahead.
Sorry.
And identify yourself for the record, please.
Certainly. This is Todd Sherman again from North Bend. And I am curious how the Gambling Commission justifies its limitations with the legislature in regards to online gambling and fantasy sports betting done online through CBS, ESPN, and other programs. Is it because social media and companies of that esteem is it because they offer a free entry, or somehow it's just not illegal for Washington State residents to participate in those programs that do offer cash prizes and rewards? So I'm just kind of curious on how the commission is either limited or affected by those avenues.
All right.
Just considering March Madness is coming up and different things coming.
Sure.
That's
maybe a big football game next weekend. Yes.
Maybe. Yes. You got it.
So, and I'll ask the interim director to queue up here, but my basis for, contemplating this is mine, is that, it seems the gambling statute seems very clear that gambling is prohibited in the state of Washington unless expressly granted. Therefore, the legislature has not granted online gaming. They have granted sports wagering in a very narrow mobile application on tribal lands. And so in my mind, that's the stop sign. We can't go beyond what the legislature has expressly granted the authority to do. So that's my perspective. There may be additional, and Tina, if you have anything to add to that, I would appreciate it.
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I did good. All right, thank you. All right, with that, is there anyone else that would like to make public comment? All right, I am not seeing anyone else. At this point, we are going to go into executive session to discuss potential agency litigation with legal counsel, including tribal negotiations. I am under the impression that this was going to be up to 3.5 hours. Somebody correct me.
3 hours, sir.
3 hours. So we will anticipate returning to public session at about 12:30 for the sole purpose of adjournment. So, and if we finish a little early, we'll go ahead and adjourn then. So, but the only action after we return to public meeting will be adjournment. So with that, I thank everyone for attendance, and we will go ahead and suspend the meeting, go into executive session. Commissioners, stay put. Everyone else, have a great day.
And